life, death. As humans, we see these things as opposites, but to the world around us, they are the same. Our language, our labels, they mean nothing to the great oak or the humble caterpillar. They live, they die, they pass on their energy in the wonderful cycle that exists in all aspects of nature.
Humans used to be a part of this cycle, members of this symbiotic relationship. However, as we have evolved, humans have begun to leave behind waste that cannot be used by nature. We create products and chemicals that are aberrations, things that don't fit into this cycle.
Plastics are among the largest offenders when it comes to polluting wildlife with unnatural contaminants. They are used widely across almost every industry, and products made from plastic are often intended for single use. As a result, more plastic is created every day, and much of it is carelessly discarded into our land and seas.
This plastic chokes plant and animal life and decimates populations that are dependent on other populations, and the careful cycle is destroyed. Thousands of people today are doing just that, mimicking nature to help save it. But where did this movement start?
Where I live, I see how people deal with waste, and I see how people deal with plastic, which is not environmental friendly, and at the same time is not good for their health.
Ceesay was raised on a farm in the small village of Najau, Gambia. She was unable to finish her education due to the death of her father, causing the family to not have enough money. Because of this, she was forced to make toys with scraps of wood and clothes, which she later sold. Her hard work and determination eventually paid off, as she was able to go to Gambia Technical Institute. It was there where she trained as secretary and even joined the U.S. Peace Corps, both of which would help her later in life during her activism. This education helped her realize how she could best help out her community. Years later, Ceesay realized that her hometown of Najau had piles of trash, mainly consisting of plastic bags, but also having discarded plastics, tins, tires, and house waste. These piles of trash were surrounded by puddles of water and mosquitoes, which carried fatal diseases like malaria. However, it seemed like the village people were unaware of this, as there would be many playgrounds, food markets, and animal feeding grounds within a very close proximity of the trash. Everything's lives were at risk. Animals were constantly dying from consuming the plastic, and malaria spread across the village like a wildfire. People would also burn the plastic bags for warmth and cooking, and this only made everything worse. Ceesay knew that something had to be done. Using the knowledge that she gained at Gambia Technical Institute, Ceesay, along with a group of other women, would reuse the plastic bags by transforming them into a handheld bag, such as a purse. This went against societal norms, as women were only meant to do housework. This was a major challenge put in front of Ceesay, but she did not give up. Instead, she went into the closest city to sell her purses, and she ended up selling out the entire first batch. Her business continued to blossom, and it eventually led to the birth of the Najau Recycling and Income Generation Group.
We work with women, elderly, we work with mid-ages, and we work with small ones. And the reason why we are doing that, we want the small one to learn about what we are doing. Because every single day is -1 from our lives. And then at the end of the day, when we are not around, those small ones, they will just inherit it and it will go. But if we don't include them, when we are not around, they will go back and start fresh.
Ceesay had always been told that women have a role, but she certainly wasn't told that her role would be as a climate activist and recycling pioneer. She knew that sitting by and watching her environment around her be destroyed was wrong. She could observe the negative effects of both of these social norms, and thus began to understand that in order to make a positive change, these social norms needed to be challenged. What makes her success so impactful is the fact that she not only had to challenge the social norm in her community that plastics should not be properly recycled, but she also had to do this as a woman. A woman in a society where women were expected only to do housework. Ultimately, Ceesay became a pillar of knowledge for women all over the world, showing that the norms of any community may be challenged.
You want to make a change, be 100% sure that it will never be overnight. And then you have to have an expectation that if it is 100 people living within your area, 75% will say no at the beginning. But let that be a motivation for you
Community has always been a cornerstone of Ceesay's movement. She began by addressing the issues she observed within her own community, and from this small initiative, the movement grew to a global scale, reaching communities around the world facing similar challenges. Her One Plastic Bag campaign demonstrates that the size of a movement doesn't matter when its positive impact is clear. No matter how small something begins, anyone and anything can create change. Many global movements, like Ceesay's, started from grassroots efforts.
Additionally, the more initiatives such as these that succeed, the more people will be inspired to start initiatives of their own and bring about change in their own unique communities. Society faces many problems aside from just plastic pollution, but the success of climate movements can inspire anyone to face any sort of problem. Climate change is such a massive looming issue that seems unsolvable, and so many have seemingly admitted defeat and given up on fighting climate change. As such, those that do stand up and fight are like a small platoon of soldiers facing down an unending army. That kind of courage is inspiring. It is the kind of courage that girls and women around the world will see and be uplifted by. To a young child, especially young black women, having a positive role model is incredibly important. Seeing someone that looks like them on TV or in the newspaper being praised for their actions prompt them to develop that same courage. The fight for our planet has seemingly no end in sight. Every day, more and more plastics are added to the piles. People everywhere has resigned themselves to living on our dying planet and doing nothing about it. Perhaps there is nothing to be done, and perhaps our efforts are futile. But that doesn't stop people like Ceesay. She is fighting a two-front war, fighting for the independence of women and for the earth. She makes an effort, helping people and the planet at the same time. As long as there are people out there like Isatou Ceesay who are willing to try their best, there's hope for our Earth.